Okay, welcome back to the County Pulse podcast. It's Yemi here, Christy, and I have Chris to my right. Welcome, welcome. It's been a while since we last on this podcast, and a lot's happened. Specifically, the inauguration of President Trump, and really great event. What were you guys doing during the inauguration? Did you guys have any events, any things whatsoever, Christy?
Yeah. I was down in Provo. We had a watch party, and I thought, being at morning time, that not that many would show up, but it was pretty packed for being so early. It was great. A lot of cheers, a lot of applause. Yeah, it was good.
Amazing. So,
Yeah.
Chris, I heard you got booed at some point.
Well, so I went and joined the Utah Patriots. We were going to try to do our own event, but to be honest with you, I'd been down that week, and so we didn't get a chance to put anything together. But I went and joined Utah Patriots in Linden, had a great time with some of my friends there. It was interesting, but you know what? Most important, it was such an exciting day. Big win after win ever since, right? I mean, I'm just so excited to be in this situation at this point.
Yeah, no, great. So I don't know if you guys know, I was in DC. Had the opportunity to fly out there and just an amazing time. There was a whole slew of Utah delegation that was out there, and there was a Utah delegation luncheon in DC. So we had all the
Was that the Chinese restaurant?
yeah, it was a Chinese restaurant, but earlier in the day, so I think Celeste, Representative Malloy, all of them, senators and Curtis, they had an event, a luncheon for everyone. So we all met up there, had lunch, and it was a great time to all get together. And then I had the opportunity to attend one of the balls, the inaugural balls, which was just amazing. I mean, just it was a really good event. It was really freezing in DC, by
Yeah.
the way. So, my goodness, because the inauguration was supposed to be outdoors initially, right? And they ended up pushing it indoors, so a lot of cancellations. But it was a great time. So really happy for that. Just what are your thoughts about the next 4 years having a Republican in office, having President Trump? Um, what are your thoughts? Like, what are you excited for?
I was kind of excited with the announcement to get out of the World Health Organization. So when that came down, excited. I am cautionary always about executive orders, whether they come presidential or from the governor. I just feel like it's contrary to our system. Personally, I would love to see executive orders to remove all previous executive orders and end executive orders. But I know they've been pretty exciting. A lot of us appreciated the nod toward genders in one of the talks, and yeah, there's some good moments. I have a daughter who really likes Carrie Underwood, so that was an exciting part. But Yemi was up close and personal, so
You weren't quite in the room.
No, I wasn't in the
not in that room.
I wasn't in the room where
That's
where it
okay.
happened, but
Yeah. Where they made the sausage.
yeah. Yeah. What are you excited for, Chris?
Oh, I'm super excited. I actually got a list of the confirmed appointees from President Trump just before I came here. So we got Marco Rubio as a Secretary of State. We got Scott Bessent, Secretary of Treasury. Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense. Kristi Noem, Homeland Security. I really like that one. Sean Duffy, Transportation. And of course, John Radcliffe for CIA Director. I think that's an awesome start. And I'm super excited to see Kash Patel. And then what was the other one? Oh, of course, Robert F. Kennedy. I love that. There's a couple others that I really like in there, but I think this is all big. It's win after win after win, and I just love it. I'm so glad somebody has stepped in and just said enough is enough. And I think Trump recognized the mistakes he made going into office last time. They should have just done it from the beginning. And I think he's smarter today than he was in 2016, right?
Yeah. No. Experience and I'm just excited. I think regardless of where you fall on the political landscape, and I was chatting with someone yesterday, and I said we need to pray for our leaders, right? So that they're successful. Like their success is America's success, and and we pray for our president, and so that he's successful in all that he does. And I hope that he gets all his nominees across, right? So let him get his people and let him get his agenda done, right? So we're so excited. Yeah. So next up, I just wanted to quickly talk about a few things that are happening in Utah. I sort of like just check the web and see what's going on Twitter, the Twitter X universe. The one thing that popped out was I don't know if you know Brian Schott, who is an independent journalist. I think he used to work for the Tribune, right? I did see news that he was denied credentials to cover the House during the legislature during the session. What are your thoughts about that? I think part of it too was that they made a rule limiting certain independent reporters, right? So I think that was probably.
I wondered, like, what are the rules?
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Look,
What
Scott's
committee does it?
never been honest, in my opinion, when it comes to anything to do with our legislature, especially if it had to do with conservatives. He's been very dishonest. He came in and used his opportunity at one of my CCMs to come in and attack every single one of my candidates, and turn their messages upside down, and then use those articles to then point back and say, remember when they did this? And he gave himself the authority to say, oh, see, they're Nazis. And it was absolutely absurd. And so, yeah, he doesn't deserve that. He's not a journalist. I'm just gonna say it straight up. He's not a journalist.
Yeah.
He's never been one. He'll never be one. Obviously, I have a problem with that particular individual. He's not the only one, though. There's a lot of them who do this, and we've got to start saying no.
Yep.
So
I have never had a personal, minus some like tweets about projects that I was really involved in with Shot. There's a lot of inside jokes that go with the name that are coming to mind right now. You know, when you've been shot, but but I have been, I think, just the Tribune itself. KSL will slant articles, but the news in general is its own subject. But the Tribune, we recently had a huge mischaracterization of the party when it came to interim and the GovOps committee with Thatcher, and that came out completely wrong headline, half quoted. They sent me it in the afternoon and said they were going to run the story in the morning, but I didn't even see the email until the morning. And then they said, well, we tried to let you know. And this was days after.
They
so
do that intentionally.
I have just felt like this has been my first experience with that kind of thing. And man, it is so disheartening to be like, oh, come on, you guys, right? Yeah. And then when I read the quote, I had a text that got leaked and it was half the text. And I said, oh, please tell me what's on the other half of the text. Why don't you guys print that?
Yeah.
You know, so just in general, I would just love to see some journalistic standards put back in place. Even, you know, there's this new, a lot of the younger kids are looking for media outlets that will do a left and a right analysis or a pro or a con. And I can even respect that a little more than just half truths.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm not sad about it.
I wish we had journalists that would just tell the story. I mean, to sit there and be and what it boils down to is they're propagandists now. They're no longer journalists.
Yes.
And I'm kind of sick of it, and I'm going to call it out because I can't stay silent on that kind of thing. And we need to just not allow those people to participate.
Yeah.
Because and I mean, I get we got First Amendment and they need to hear the story. Let's do that.
Yeah.
But these people who are propagandists and clearly the intent is to flip the narrative upside down every time, they can't be allowed in.
Yeah,
They're not acting like
it's a form of dishonesty.
Yeah.
I tell my LCCs that have wanted to come up, you know, I said, well, if it's a hot subject and you end up where the news covers it, just watch, because what will happen oftentimes is there will be one outlier comment and they will turn the whole story into that. And so it's disheartening. I hope that things change a bit there. And I guess this is probably just a reflection of people being fed up with it. So.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I think also like I think I don't necessarily think he was specifically targeted. I think ultimately like I think it was more so on those independent journalists, in which I think on the scores kind of scores with the messaging of if you're not going to be balanced, or I think there's a the propensity for a lot of these journalists to just show up with a pen and paper and write whatever they want and not necessarily be held accountable.
Yeah.
So
can I give a nod to his humor though? I mean, he's very witty. I mean, he wrote some stuff that I chuckled and I went, that is highly entertaining.
And to be fair, he can be a funny, nice guy. I've talked to him a few times. But then once it's printed, it's just like, wow.
Yeah. He's written stuff that wasn't political that I found very moving. Yeah, he wrote a story about
Share that with me
a relative. He wrote a story about a relative that he reconnected with, a family member, and it was a very moving story. And so,
That's good to hear.
yeah, you know,
Yeah, I mean, also,
We're all human.
yeah, and he's a good writer too, though. Like if you know,
Oh,
he,
he's-
he
Yep.
I see sometimes his stuff, and I'm like, yeah,
He's very skilled. Let's
Yeah.
put it that way.
So, well, okay.
shout out to Brian.
Yes, I said it, Brian. Not as skilled.
Yeah, so kind of staying in that lane in the legislature as well. We did see a portion of the, and we'll show it right here, where it shows an ad in the legislative booklet for 2025. There was an ad in there that talked about it was quote abortion is healthcare, and I don't know what you think about that. For me personally, I don't know if those kind of ads should be in the legislative handbook. It's just deeply a partisan and extreme.
Oh, it's inhumane,
Yeah.
is what it is. And no, they shouldn't be there, because abortion is neither health nor is it care. It is murder. And I'm going to say that straight up, and I will never back down from that. And nobody, you can't say I'm going to be selfish because I don't think my life's going to be the same if I have this baby, and then say that you're a pro-life person, or pro-choice even, because you've taken away the choice of a living
Yeah.
being. And so no, that absolutely threw me through the roof.
Yeah, I don't know what the rules are, so I'd have to look at, free speech. That would probably trump it for me. But as far as we had the March for Life here last Saturday, wonderful. I brought two of the youth. Deanna Holland does a great job. Aaron Bolin, let's see, Marianne Boyack, Marilee Boyack, wonderful event. It was lots of people, and when you do that march, I don't know if you guys have participated
yeah.
before. But it is a wonderful event. And, one of the statistics that really kind of blew my mind, and I did not know this, but oftentimes when you see these debates happen, people will jump to the outlier, the most extreme case. And I did love, the left used to say, and maybe you guys remember how it was rattled off, but it was something like, hopefully never, very rare and only when necessary. And it has come so far from that. But one of the statistics was that when they mention, a woman who has been raped and having to carry the child, I did not know this, but the majority of them choose to keep the baby.
Yeah.
It is by and large, it's like over 90% do. And I did not know that. And so that statistic really shocked me. I'll get the actual one and get it to you, Yemi. But that was fascinating. It was so wonderful to be part of an event that just celebrated life and talked about their statistics of helping people and how many babies they've been able to save. I think, I don't want to get it wrong, but it's around 140. And they put their van up in the parking lot, and they just, Deanna said, pluck those women and try and convince them that they're willing to help them. And they fix cars, and they clean houses, and they get apartments, and they babysit other kids. I mean, just talk about making a big difference in life and having meaning. They do a
One
good
last
job.
call out is what I love about what they do is it spreads, right?
Yeah.
So that's what they can document, right? They can say we did this and this.
Yeah.
But what they don't say is how that's affected other people's lives and made them also understand the importance of life. They've done
Yeah.
so much good for this state and so much for this world. I love them.
Yeah, I do too. Deanna said there's nothing greater than getting text messages of happy moms and happy babies that she knows wouldn't exist if their organization did not help them. So talk about, what a legacy. Like, shout out, her speech made me cry. She is in my neighborhood and a dear friend and such a good speaker. And it was an awesome event. Cold, but awesome.
Amazing people.
Yeah, it was also the March for Life in DC, same day on Saturday. And JD Vance, Vice President Vance, came out and spoke in person, which was the first time that's ever happened for the Vice President to come out and support that event. And I was in DC at the time, although I was very sick, but it was packed.
Yeah.
Absolutely packed. And I think that's one of the things people try to say is that this crowd is there are not a lot of people that support, that are pro-life.
Not true.
And I'm telling you, there are a lot of mothers out there, fathers, concerned citizens that are just, they want to support life. They want life, and a lot of these, there were some moms that were there that had abortions in the past,
Yeah.
and either they were actually some of them have mentioned that they've been sort of I don't know if tricked is the word, but they've been influenced to
Yeah.
like, okay, you can have this or you can do this quick and just get rid of it and you don't have to deal with it, and they're coming out there and showing regrets and just wishing that they would have made a different decision. And life is precious, obviously, right? And
Yeah.
what a great program. I mean, great institution. So I hope, um, in looking at just the ad that was there, I hope that that's something that we can take a look at. I mean, if obviously freedom of speech, right? We know like the right to will always follow the right to for freedom of speech in the against the right to be offended, right? Always, right? We'll
Sure.
always offend that. But let's just kind of take a look about what those the requirements are for
Yeah.
having that kind of ad in a legislative handbook. Okay, well, next topic I wanted to just quickly touch on was the Utah GOP vice chair elections that are going to be happening next week, right, at the next SEC meeting. And also, there's a slate of SEC bylaw amendments. I saw there was one by you in there. I think I wrote it
How many
down.
are we up to?
Did I get it? Did it get in there? I have to check. I thought I didn't make it.
No, I think it did.
Okay.
So
Great.
I'll bring it up in a second, but just really touching on, so there are about 4 people as of today that have filed for the spot to run for the position. So Corey Turner, Austin Gray, Gunner, Thunderson, is that how you pronounce the last
Yeah.
name? Yeah, and Chad Saunders. So we have those 4 candidates who have currently filed, and do you guys know any of them? I mean, we all know Gunner and Chad. Do you know Corey or Austin?
I don't know the other two. Do you, Chris?
I don't know them. To be honest, no.
Okay. Well, what are your thoughts about the position, about the vice chair position, and at the very least, Chad and Gunner, and what they have to offer?
Well, look, it's going to be a very short run for them because they're going to be replaced at the next.
Or not replaced. I mean, this could
really?
be. Well, no. I mean, you have incumbency at that point, and so if they're going to
that's-
be running again, it is
Like,
kind of a strategy.
Yeah, it kind of gives us an idea of what they're going to be in office for
Yeah.
a short time, or in the position for a short time. Look, I think a lot of people could be great at vice chair. I won't throw my hat in for anybody yet. I won't endorse anybody, but I think recently I've been watching Gunner, and I've watched him make good connections. I've also watched Chad make good connections and put the work in. I think either one of them would do well. I don't know who else. I really don't know some of the other people that well, so I can't really say. But
Corey and who else?
Corey Turner and Austin Gray.
Okay.
And we also, I mean, through the grapevine, and I don't know if they're going to file, that Zach Wilson, I don't know if you all have heard
I
of
know
that
Zach.
before, and Jesse Sloan
Okay.
may potentially put in their names in the hat.
I think either one of them would be good as well.
Good. Yeah.
I
Zach-
do know both of them very.
Yeah, because Zach
should say
did
very well. I know
Zach did very well at the last convention, right?
Zach has so much energy, and we do need somebody who has energy. Look, the chair can't be doing it all alone. Not that he has been, but I think that, as a chair, I don't know how you
I was
guys
gonna
are,
say, we know how
but,
hard that is.
But I mean, that little team does so much work, and you need somebody to show up, get
Yeah.
the work done, and not wait to be told what to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, we need.
Yes. Indeed.
Yeah, it's well, okay. To that, I want to say, and I don't know about the other two, and I want to give everybody a fair shot, so they may end up being fantastic and just what we need. But it would be wonderful to see somebody strong, consistent, organized. I think it's no secret that we've had a couple of struggling SCC meetings, and it would be really wonderful to get somebody in there that could give a little direction.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. And one of the issues, during the SEC meeting is like we're never able to get business done, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that it seems like they're doing now is sending out the list of agenda items way ahead of time. One of them that caught my eye was the constitutional amendment to bring data sharing in compliance with Utah state law.
So yeah, I was thrown when you, because I actually had written one to be sent. It wasn't that one, and then when you said that it was in there, that was from previous. So
okay,
I forgot
gotcha.
we had agreed to bring them back,
Oh,
and that's why this one's here. So I
how many
forgot
are
about
there? There's a lot.
Oh
There's
yeah.
a lot.
There's a
yeah.
handful.
A through, wow. There's a lot.
Do you guys hold pre-SCC meetings in your county to go through some before?
I have.
No.
I have in the past when there's something that's really controversial.
Yeah.
It's probably a good idea to do it again this time.
Yeah, I think
Unfortunately, my CCM is the week before,
Oh,
so
sorry
I'll
about
have to
that.
do it during the middle of the week or something. But
Okay.
yeah, I think it would be a good idea.
We've held two, and they've been super helpful. So I'm gonna try and hold another one.
You put together the one where all the chairs got together and got to talk
Yeah.
ahead of time. I think that was fantastic because I got to hear perspectives from other chairs, and I'm always open to listening to other people's ideas. I think it got a little heated at times, but it was good because I understood where people were coming from. So I love that. We need to have more of those.
Yeah, I didn't mind that. I mean, if you recall, we were at kind of like a pivotal moment right before that meeting, so
Yeah.
the emotions were justified. But having a place where we could talk it out, actually, I walked away from it with something that you said that made me go, okay, I don't know, I'm thinking about that a little different. So
Yeah,
yeah, it works.
it's good.
And something that's been catching a lot of momentum is and maybe not maybe my sphere about the potential for like a 2-day convention. Have you heard about that?
Oh, I've thought of it before.
I've liked the idea.
I like the
personally.
idea too.
I think there's too much work to be done in one day. I think the expectation needs to be put out there early so the delegates understand. But I think it's probably necessary at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so maybe the first day we handle like business and the likes, and then the following day, whatever elections need to take place, right? Then we can
Yeah.
do it in the second day.
I like it.
And that way we're not staying there till 1 a.m.
Can we go back to really quick the
Yeah.
bringing data sharing
Yes.
in compliance? I mean, since my name's on it, I just want to say how important that is. I just ran into a problem where my new executive committee members started getting bombarded with text messages and emails, junk mail, overwhelming.
Okay.
I had one reach out to me and say, "Hey, how do I stop this? It's been ever since my data was put out on the webpage," and this is why. And I know people hate this. This is why I'm not willing to put it out there freely, because we'll all get I can't get through my email. I have at least 3,000 emails at a time in my chair email because of this kind of stuff.
Oh my
And
goodness.
if we did that to all of our delegates, nobody would be a delegate again. And this is one of the reasons why I think this is so important. It's just one example.
So can you give me a summary of what
it basically, so the state only requires that we provide certain information. Our bylaws actually go a little bit too far.
Okay.
And the state just says you got to have a mechanism to share the data. A mechanism is a web page to request it, and that's all I do. And then I post it. I'll be honest, I post it one night a year
I know
to meet the requirement. And sorry guys if you hate me for it, but I don't want my delegates screaming saying I can't do business anymore because of this, right? Or I can't, so this is really important. We've got to keep their data private and only share what needs to be shared for the purpose of the business that they are doing.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Okay, I know that you and I have been victims of scams. Have you, Yemi? Well, just because our information is on the website multiple times where they send it to...
Yes, it's happened to me.
Okay.
Send me gift cards.
Send me gift cards, and then I have house chairs like texting me being like, "Do you really need this?" And no, I had to put a disclaimer out at Central Committee meeting. I will never ask you to buy me gift cards. I promise.
That's just one example. That's why we do this. So.
Now, if it asks for a Popeye's gift card, maybe that might be me. I'm just joking.
If you want to send me a gift, no, I'm just kidding.
No, there is one that also caught my eye, though. It's by Bob McEntee, and it talks about combined and divided precincts. So it says the proposal gives county parties the option of combining small voting precincts into caucus precincts up to 1,500 Republican registered active voters, and to split large precincts into smaller precincts of no less than 300 registered active Republican voters.
Oh.
I like that.
I'm actually in favor of that.
Me too.
We know we've talked about this before, Chris, and I think you have a bill that you support right now that has gotten a little bit of talk.
It's been misinterpreted for sure.
Yeah, and people have asked me how I feel about it, and we have different problems.
Yeah.
And so I'm fine with that one with Bob. That gives the flexibility we need.
That's good. I will tell you though, if the party presents different boundaries than what the counties do, you're gonna have people show up to caucus night and say, "Well, here's my voter registration card. It says I'm supposed to belong to this precinct," and it's not going to be there, and it causes mass chaos. So this is great, except that it should be used very sparingly, and the precincts do need to align with what the voter registration cards say.
Yeah, we solved it in a similar way, but we had to identify it, like you said, so
Yeah.
they didn't have the.
I had people literally in the wrong rooms. We actually had to hold new caucuses for some of those.
Okay.
So yeah.
And this one by Max Sims, it's the convention threshold proposal. The bylaw brings the bylaws into compliance to increase the voting threshold for sole convention nominees from 60% to 70%. Did you?
Ooh, and we're off to the races.
That's a tough one. It's going to take some. It's going to have a. We're going to have to talk about this a lot.
We are going to have to talk about this a lot.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is anymore.
I do, but
Well, yeah.
yeah.
And SB 54.
Yeah.
And I mean, would that mean like, I mean, we're still going to be using rank choice, right? Is that? I mean,
Is that in there?
No, it's not in there. But how does So I'm just trying to understand what
I would imagine it's not. You have the national, the RNC against that. I do not know. Yeah, we have a couple of solutions that I've heard that are coming like that, and looks like Mac got his submitted. So.
Oh, well, okay. Well, that's it. That's all that I have here, and on this segment. And the next part, we're going to be talking about bills real quick, and kind of figure out where we stand on some of the bills that have been happening this past week with the legislative session. So, see you in a bit. Okay, welcome back to segment 2. We are here to talk about bills. It's the first legislative session is the first week is over, and we have some bills that we would like to take a look at. Well, first of all, I'm just going to run through a few bills that I sort of like piqued my interest, and especially some of our Davis County delegation here have been, our delegates and citizens have been really up and Adam about this one. It's the HB 81. This is the fluorides amendments that's sponsored by Representative Grishas. And this would prohibit adding fluoride to public water systems and require the HHS to issue standing prescription drug orders for fluoride supplements and require a pharmacist who dispenses fluoride supplements to patients to provide patient counseling. What do you guys think about this one?
Common sense. I'm all for it. Yeah, I think that there's no reason to put medicines or anything else in water. Let us make our own decisions. I pay my dentist $25 extra to do the fluoride thing. I'll keep doing that. I'm fine with that. It's common sense.
Yeah, choice. I don't care if it's vitamin C. Don't force it. Don't mandate it. Yeah. I had a city council member a couple of years ago who was allergic to fluoride, and she could not get them to not pass it in her city. And she begged and pleaded and said, "You don't understand. I won't be able to drink the water. I am like known allergic to it." And so it's about time. Like, hallelujah.
Yeah.
Do they do fluoride in Utah County? Is it there? Or I know Davis County for sure.
I actually don't know. I'm on a well. My city's on a large well.
So I talked to Stephanie Grecius about this. It's actually just a few cities, I believe, in Salt Lake, and then probably Davis. But they got to get rid of it. Yeah. Because you could be traveling through, right? You wouldn't know.
Yeah.
So.
No, absolutely. I got one of those filters like for my house. Like it's crazy what's in the water. So, amazing. So next one that I have here is it's HB 269. It's another one by Rep. Stephanie Gricius as well. It just advanced to the Senate, and it requires that students at public university live in rooms that match the sex designation at birth. This one's a no-brainer for me. I can't imagine why this has taken this long for this to be a thing. So shout out to Rep. Gricius on this one. Hopefully this, obviously it's going to the Senate, and hopefully this is a slam dunk.
Can I add something to that real quick? So initially it had some verbiage in there saying that that if their birth certificate, revised birth certificate, matched this gender surgery that they had. And I immediately texted her. I said, wait a minute, are you promoting this? Because I didn't realize that was in there when I first read it. And she says, no, we got it revised. That is out of there. It removes that piece. So those who are against it for that reason, you can now support it. It is a good bill.
That's great.
There you go.
Okay, and one more that I do have is, as I pull it up here, it is HB 152. This is by Representative Katie Hall. It's the Healthcare Facility Amendments. You guys may not know a lot about this one. Obviously, my background in healthcare, and this one is HB 152 would ensure that care delivered meets. So, what's happening in essence is that a lot of these what do you call them? The private equity firms are starting freestanding emergency department rooms in around Utah. In essence, they just start up, get an emergency room, and it's not attached to a hospital, which means if something happens while you're in that ED that requires next level of care, they're gonna have to send you somewhere else.
Right.
Right. So they can't just admit you to to an inpatient facility, floor. So in this case, you're seeing all of these pop up, and it's all money grabs, right? And they staff them to the bare minimum. So what Katie is saying here is that if you are going to stand up one of these freestanding EDs, it needs to be staffed by a certified ER physician, 2 ER registered nurses, a respiratory therapist, and staff to perform emergent testing, diagnostic procedures, and all of which are essential to providing care and stabilizing patients at their most vulnerable times. So I think this is another no-brainer one, and I think, shout out to Katie for getting ahead of this. I'm all for private industry and, new businesses popping up and all that, but it has to be done responsibly for patients, and you need to have the resources to actually take care of patients if things get worse while they're at the freestanding EDs.
So it's interesting you say that. I'm not saying I'm opposed to it or for it either way, but I recently cut off the tip of my finger. I was working out in my yard, and I went to one, and they sewed it back on, did all this stuff, and I went home, and I thought, oh, that's great. I didn't have to go wait at a larger hospital. So I kind of see both sides, but I get where you're coming from on that. But what do you think? I mean, it does kind of. If you're smart enough to know which one to go to, it's a good thing. If you're not, and you're wasting time and possibly risking your life, then I can understand that. But I don't know.
No, that's a great point. Well, here's the thing too. Like, if you are in an emergency situation, a lot of times you're looking at the closest location to you, right? And you're probably not thinking that far ahead.
Yep.
And like I said, I think the main thing is that do not understaff it, right? I think there's a general level of staff that's required. And because here's another issue too, is that you get these freestanding health EDs, you get the benefits of the emergency room, but then the hospital system that you end up transferring them to takes the burden of the inpatient admission, which a lot of times are reimbursed far less than an ED visit, right? So it's like you can't have your cake and eat it, right? Kind of thing. So I am 100% in support of this. Katie is doing the Lord's work, in my opinion.
Lesson is just don't cut off the tip of your finger. It's all good.
Yeah. Any thoughts?
Well, I would love to hear the pros and cons in committee and want to know. I'm sure there's a story behind this. Katie usually sponsors great bills. I would love to know if they've run into some issues. But I'm also with Chris. It's nice to just get those things taken care of.
A few stitches.
So.
Okay. Absolutely. Well, that's what I have on my own end. So, Christy, do you have anything that you're watching?
Oh man, I'm gonna go fast because I have quite a few, and we'll see. And then I looked down at the sponsors and realized there's some repeat ones here. So, I had SB 27, which is a motor vehicle division. My concern with this one, and I just scrolled through, and it goes into like the. I don't know exactly what line it ended on, but I told you guys I was at line 3,500 and something. And so that's concerning in and of itself. The other thing that's concerning is this is a motor vehicle division bill. It has what looked like about 124 lines of water code. So I never like to see when we have stuff that is in there that doesn't seem to be either related to the title. For me, these fall under, I think it's Article 6, Section 22, when we start to talk about, especially when you get way down there in the thousands and thousands of lines, not to say that it's intentionally hidden, but it's a little bit of a struggle to find it. And so this one was sponsored by Harper. The co-sponsor is Christofferson. I will definitely be giving Christofferson a call just to see if there's something to this that we don't know. And I'm happy to do that, but I don't like to see water bills in motor vehicle division. There's probably a reason, but I'll report back to you next time on that one. Next,
Harper about that one too.
yeah, please do. Next one is Senate Bill 138. This one was really hot this morning. This is the automatic license plate readers. The summary on this one was, I believe they were going for no warrant to purchase license plate reader data from outside sources. For me, hard pass on that. You need a warrant. What do you guys think?
Can you explain that? So
yeah.
the state they're trying to have automatic plate readers across.
From what I understand, this is if they had automatic plate readers from a third party that they would get access to, that they would need a warrant for.
So this isn't the photo ticketing. This is because that one's out there too.
Yeah.
I don't know where that. I should have looked that one up.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so this is it just to gather data?
To get it, yeah. And so normally when you go to a private entity, you have to get a warrant, and this one was looking like it was going to be looking to get that data without a warrant. So
yeah, I don't know that I like that.
Yeah.
Wait, because I'm confused. So who's taking the data right now?
A third-party company.
Is
Lots
it
of them do. You have
really?
parking. Yeah, if you.
No way.
Yeah, there's a lot of license plate readers out there. If you have like parking garages or things like that, and then they can ask.
They sell it with your other data, right? Is that the idea? Or
Yeah.
It's part of big data or what?
I don't know how they go about doing it.
I've heard of that one before, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I've been learning a lot about big data lately.
And it's big.
It is way bigger than big. It's massive. And all of our data is being sold constantly. If that's adding to it, I'm absolutely against it. But I don't fully grasp the concept here. So
Yeah, and I've been looking at another bill that's in a similar vein. I'll do a little more research on this one, but I am very much of the opinion that even though it might be out there in the free market, the government needs to hold the line on the same rules that it's always held with our Fourth Amendment rights, you know.
So they get a warrant before they can get the data from the private. Yeah.
Which bill is that again?
That one is 138, SB 138.
SB 138. Okay.
Yeah, that one is Owens. My next one is SB 96, and this one is not a green flag or a red flag. This one is air mobility, and I know that this bill or a similar bill to it came up a couple of years ago. I'm of the opinion we need to have the conversations and do it right. There are drone deliveries in the talks, and space above housing and within cities and how air mobility works. And so I'm going to take a look at that one, and I'm neutral on it right now. And that one, let me see, is Harper. So SB 142 is my next one. This one is Weiler, and this one goes along with, so this is the app one. So this kind of goes with ones that passed a couple of years ago. I think it was HB 311 and SB 153, which was the, scan your driver's license or show data to get online. It was in my opinion, sold as a protect children online. I struggle with issues, and Chris, you and I had a conversation about this, about having to identify yourself online. So this one is with the app stores. I am a hard pass on this. I think we need to start having the conversations about if platforms are publishers or if they are a platform and different rules. And this goes back to like Section 230, federally. And so, yeah, it just, for me, too many doors, who's going to do it, too many questions. You have people who are super concerned about other countries that have social credit scores. Could this lead to that? Those are big issues for a lot of people. So What are you guys' thoughts? Anything on that?
That's a tough one. I mean, that's a very complex issue. I mean, I'm all for freedom and people not gathering your data. I also feel like parents are being undermined right and left.
Sure.
And so I just don't know. There's got to be a solution somewhere.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard it yet. So.
Yeah, I think we have countries, and I agree with you. I don't know what the solution is, but we do have. We don't have to guess what could happen. We have countries that are already a little further along in this.
I agree.
You had over 3,000 people in the UK get arrested for speech online last year. So this is stuff that people then they're using. So that's really concerning.
You ever want to get scared about where this stuff leads to? Go look up, go to YouTube and search for Tencent. It's China's.
Okay.
It's actually run by the government. They claim they're a private company, but it controls everything, every app, everything you think, do, where you've been, everything. It's insane.
Yeah.
It will scare the bejeebies out of you.
So it makes me wonder if we're trying to put a Band-Aid on social issues. Like, I know these issues are difficult, and I am not trying to belittle or downplay the issues that we're having with our children, but I just fear that we are going to think that the answer is in one vein and create ourselves like a bigger problem.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So, okay, I've got SB 23, which goes along with SB 26 and last year's SB 268. And these are more housing stuff. So I wanted to kind of bring these up and see where you guys are at. This SB 23 is called, I believe, First Home Investment Zones. This is with affordability housing. For me, these kind of all go together. But I am a no on these. I think we need to take a hard freeze on looking at all of these different zones that we have created recently and stop and see if they have done what they were intended to do. I just, it's probably the number one issue, and I don't know how you guys feel, but everywhere I go out to the public, people want to talk about high density housing, centralized planning of it. They want the state to stop. That's the consensus. And so this just falls into that category, these three. And then when you start to read them, you almost, they're getting very difficult to follow what does what and what category it falls in. And I know cities are extremely frustrated. We've talked about this in previous episodes.
Is this the one that Governor Spencer Cox is promoting?
I don't know.
There was something along that vein, and I could be totally wrong, so I don't want to.
This one's Harper. I don't know if that's the same one.
I'm at the point where government just needs to get out of the business of trying to solve the cost of living home issue, because all they've done is made it worse. In fact, we got to roll back a lot of the regulations that are in place. It's really what it's doing is it's empowering developers. Sorry, developers, I love you. Glad you develop, but it's not about how much money you make. It's about, we need to get back to the ownership of property. Yeah. Developing the way we want. People need to be able to build their own houses. You can't even do that anymore.
Right?
Yeah. What do you think about it? Housing incentives, like the government provided.
I'm generally not a fan.
Is not a part of government. It should not be in the government. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think, single family homes. That's just my perspective. I don't think we need all these. I mean, I'm sure there is a need for like apartment complexes and all that stuff. We get it. I get it. But families need family homes. Like,
yes.
That's just what we need to. If that's not what we're building, something's wrong. Something's wrong.
I've never heard a small family come together and say, we can't wait to own this little tiny property with no backyard, and we'll share it with, we'll share the grass with 10 other people. No, people don't do that. What they're doing is they're saving the money so they could buy a bigger house, a bigger property house, so they can live there 30 years with a 30-year loan. And guess what? Their mortgage payment doesn't go up for 30 years.
Yeah.
You want to stop expensive housing? Mm-hmm. That's how you do it.
We had Randall O'Toole come last year. He's a housing expert. He has been teaching this stuff. He's a professor, I believe. He talks about the two books that are used in colleges now. Both of the authors of both of those books took the money that they got from those books, moved out of the city, and bought single family homes. He said it's just so not true. And in the books, they were, perpetuating this idea. But really, there's a whole history to it. This was the Industrial Revolution. This is when you had large business owners wanting to keep their workers close so they could get back to work the next day and not have to ride the train out to the country. And so so they started doing housing, that way.
Yes.
It wasn't what they wanted. It was out of necessity. And so, we should be able to allow cities to have the look and feel. I mean,
Absolutely.
we're not, I have a whole bookshelf of books, one whole row just from Austrian economists that think this is a little more complicated than just supply and demand that it's been touted as. And I think it is a lot more complicated than that.
For sure.
So,
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
okay, the next one that I have, we were going to touch base on this one again, was Representative Clancy had a lunch bill one that you brought up last time, Chris.
Yeah.
And I talked to him. I saw him in the hall.
I didn't get a chance to.
Yeah.
I'm glad you did.
And I said, hey, I want to be fair. We brought it up. I was neutral on it, but I wanted to ask you. He said that it is some overage money. I don't know the technical terms that he is reallocating to what he saw as a need. And we had a great conversation. I politely told him I was still against it. Just having been in schools, I think you can solve the lunch thing in different ways. There's sunshine funds, like I said last time. You have parents absolutely willing to, help out with those. If you just sent out an email saying, hey, our lunch sunshine fund is getting low, people have big hearts. They will reach in. Nobody wants to have kids go hungry. I just think if we have extra money, isn't that what we are always grateful for? Like, send it back when it's not needed and don't reallocate it again.
Yeah. Don't take it out of our pockets. And hey, let's, as a community, if we've got a problem, let's solve it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Right. Let's put together our own solution that's not government forced.
Absolutely. Okay, the next one, you guys, and Chris, I know you're going to feel the same way about this. SB 127, hard pass on the pilot extension for ranked choice voting. So they are looking for a 10-year extension. If anybody knows my history, that's probably the easiest one that I get to comment on right now. Todd Weiler is looking for the extension, and this is my 2 cents on this. There has been a distrust with pilot programs in the legislature. People feel like they are the foot in the door to more bureaucracy and that they're permanent. And this is a wonderful opportunity for the legislature to say, we had a pilot program, it did its job, it ran its course, we collected the data, the people spoke out about it, and the numbers have dwindled. So I believe they're originally at 23, then we went to 12. We have even less cities renewing ranked choice voting this year. Last year, when Katie Hall had a bill that was going to try and kill ranked choice voting, their battle cry was, let the pilot program just expire on its own. And now that it's going to expire next year, they are now saying, let's extend it for 10 more years.
10
so
years.
Can't fault them for trying, but please just let it go.
Just throw it in the trash bin. Let's get rid of this stuff.
Amen.
I wish I had a really great, I had a really great description of all the problems that came out of it, how many people's votes basically didn't count. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
Put an end to it. It's
Put an end to it.
Stop.
Yeah, so much data. And to be fair, this one's a little bit personal. We tried to present the data to committees and they would not hear us out, but they would hear the other side for years.
Yeah.
And so I like to be true to form for pilot programs. It did what it was supposed to do. Let's let it die. Okay, next, SB 155, another one from Todd Weiler. This is Senator Weiler has changes to child crimes. It's a reduction in sentences. Look at those numbers. It's a significant reduction in sentences, and I've been hearing chatter about that one. I will go read that to be fair, but it did not look.
So is it crimes that are committed by children?
No,
or-
against. So these are offenders, and reduction of sentences with that. Okay, and then I saved the high note for last. I have 2 green flag ones that I want to talk about. One is House Bill 294, and this is McPherson, and this is orders of constraint. We dealt with orders of constraint pretty heavily during COVID, and so he's made some, what I think are some pretty good adjustments. So take a look at that one. And then the other one was House Bill 84. I think you had this one on your list too, Chris, which is Trevor Lee, Representative Lee. And this one is food that has genetically modified, like mRNA in it, has to have labels. Absolutely. Thank you so much. I think this goes right along with the Make America Healthy Again. I want to know what's in the food that I'm eating. And if the state of Utah can assist us in that, I'm all for it.
If we don't want fluoride, we certainly don't want this other garbage in it, right?
Yeah. And if we do want the garbage in, at least we get the choice and we know and it's
no.
labeled,
Yeah, exactly.
right? Like, yeah.
I just, it's
Well, that's choice, right? That's the whole idea of
Yeah.
choice, right?
Yeah, And we should have a long time ago passed things like this, because our food, everyone remember before COVID, before the vaccine, everybody used to say, "Oh, GMOs, right? They're bad, blah blah blah. I want my all natural." Nobody ever talks about that anymore, right?
Yeah.
Because they all took the vaccine.
Well, we haven't, yeah. But to be fair, like, I just want to know. Like, I've always wanted to know, which is why I have a garden. This Maha, my kids keep joking that they're getting confirmation of stuff I've been telling them their whole lives, and so I'm super behind this one. Like, absolutely, just tell us what's in it. Let us make our own choices. Free will.
Exactly.
So that's all I have.
Well, my turn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So you guys took like 5 of mine, but that's cool. That's cool, because I'm glad, because I think we're on the same side, or at least we understand. So I've only got 4 yeses, and these are soft yeses, because we'll talk about each one. My first one is HB 77. I'm always about ending the woke mind virus, especially in schools. Now, this is the bill. I believe it's Trevor Lee's. Yeah, it is Trevor Lee's. This is the one, the flag display amendment, that limits the flags that can be displayed in public buildings. Obviously, we're most concerned about the schools, but we've had other issues too with the public buildings. Common sense, and I want to say something about this. Recently, Natalie Klein posted something, and I wanted to make sure that it was valid and everything. She posted a story about a pastor who was, for whatever reason, pulled into a school, and the pastor walked through the school, and as they were walking down, and this is in Salt Lake City, and as they're walking through the hall, he was walking through the hall, there was a picture of Trump with a target on him and darts being thrown at him by the kids. Wow. And then just a little, I don't know, I'm not telling the story the way he did, but the point is, then there was LGBTQ plus paraphernalia everywhere, and he's just walking around. And my whole thinking in this was, oh my gosh, we used to put up, we'd make things out of clay and we put them on shelves and show them in the hallways. They're showing this stuff, like politically motivated garbage, woke stuff, and it's absurd. Of course, he mentioned a couple of flags and things like that as well. It's not the place. It's not the place for this kind of stuff. So absolutely support this. Thank you, Trevor, for putting it out there. It's common sense. It sucks that we have to make a law about it, but we should not be letting our kids be exposed to this stuff in schools.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Then the next one I have is House Bill 270. So this is and I forget what it's called. 270 is the Voter Registration Records Amendment, and this is also by Trevor Lee. So I read through it, basically, and I hope I get this right, but basically a number of years back, and multiple times, if you had registered to vote as a private registered voter, your data was protected from the public, but it wasn't protected from the party because you were joining the party, right? It makes sense. But then they created this withheld category that kept it from the party. So you're joining the party, but you're not going to tell them who you are. You're an anonymous party member. That's absurd, right? That should have never happened. But because they didn't know if you intended to be a withheld voter or a private voter, what they did is they grandfathered in all these private people into withheld, and withheld's become bigger and bigger over the years. This kind of reverses that. The withheld category still exists. It shouldn't. I'm going to say that right now. It should not exist. But the party can keep your data private just like any organization would. Amazon, the gym memberships you have, things like that. We can keep data private if we need to, and we would. The problem is that the government's keeping it from us, so we can't communicate with you, so you can't participate. That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, back to this bill. What this does, it rolls that back, and it gives people the opportunity to become withheld, but they have to go through the proper process, not just grandfathered in.
Sure.
And I'll give you one example. I had an executive committee member who, on my executive committee, I called her and I said, "Hey, I don't know, where's your voter registration?" I said, I know you were a voter. I know it when I became chair, we had it. Where'd it go? Well, it got rolled up, grandfathered in. So I had an executive committee member who I could not tell if they were a registered Republican or not. That's how absurd this is.
Yeah, it's become a game.
Yep.
And I hate it. And the big problem here is that you have a private party that has a membership list that has to get it from the state. That is the first problem, right? And then these private and withhelds, and you and I had this conversation, they did switch the language a little bit, but a lot of these people registered to vote at the DMV when the language was put in the affirmative for privacy, not telling them that it was going to make them private to the party.
Right.
And so I remember reading it going, well, of course anybody would say that they, want to be private. And so it was what we all want in a nod to privacy, but it did not let them know that they would not be able to be communicated with from their party.
Exactly.
And so, I mean, this is a big deal. This is a big piece of the puzzle. It's not a flashy piece. Between SB 54 and the ability to have our own list and control our own list, it's a really big deal.
The party's never going to be successful if we can't communicate with our own membership. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And this is one more piece of that puzzle where they're taking it away, and then saying, see, the party isn't effective.
Yeah.
Well, of course we're not effective. You're not giving us our data.
Except I think we are, but yeah.
Well, I agree. I think
yeah, but that's the narrative.
But we would be more effective if we had all of our data.
Absolutely. And we all know the games of once the data goes out there and you have candidates and then you have people who collect lists over years, then you have people who sell lists and all of that. And then it's such a weird position to put us in to have to tell people that there are people who have better lists than we do.
Yeah.
Like, that's not okay. True. We should have our own list. We should be the source of authority with our list.
Yeah.
So
yes, I do love that one. Thank you, Trevor. And I'm hoping that there's going to be some amendments, but I won't get into the details of that. Okay, the next one is House Bill 267, and it is the second, what do you call it, the substitute. This is the public sector labor union amendments. This is a very big, it's about ensuring that unions are, what's the term? Man, I drew a blank just now.
I don't know, but this is the one the UEA is.
Yeah, I mean, it isn't written for the UEA, but it's going to affect them the most because look what happens. And I had somebody in my ward, my church, who was a teacher and was like, oh, we got to stop this because it's going to keep me from being able to negotiate my retirement. That's not true. The retirement is a state retirement. And if the UEA is telling you that they're not going to be able to negotiate your retirement for you, then they're lying because that's the state run. Yeah. There's a number of things that were said that I helped walk him back, and I think that they understand now. No, what this does is it keeps unions from using our taxpayer-paid resources for their personal use. These unions, and like UEA, is practically a monopoly.
Yeah.
There are some small unions that help the teachers that are out there out in maybe some small counties or whatever. But in Salt Lake County, they're a monopoly. And in some other places, they're a monopoly. And look, again, the woke mind virus is they're promoting this. They're the ones who are promoting transgender surgeries for kids. They opposed Kira Birkeland's the girls protecting girls sports.
Yeah.
You can go on and on and on and on. All these things that they're doing and they're taking this money out of the teachers' pay automatically using resources, our taxpayer resources, and then using that money to oppose or do the things that we as parents and as adults don't approve of. And so it's time. I hope that it gets passed. I hope it doesn't affect some of the labor unions so much that it becomes a big problem. But in reality, these labor unions, they shouldn't have a monopoly. We are a right to work state. Sure, we need collective bargaining rights, but to a point. Right?
Yeah.
There should be some balance, and there isn't any right now.
Well, it would be interesting if there, were less barriers to entry, less of a monopoly. And to be fair, as a teacher, I understand there is, and you feel it, like
You're teaching all the time. You don't have the ability to.
Well, there's an echo chamber too that happens with the UEA and their message, and it would be a very interesting thing to watch to see if that were opened up more, and you had other unions step forward. I didn't even know there were other unions. That's how much their voice is so loud, and the other ones you can't hear. But to know that if on some of these bills that they had opposed, if you would have had other teacher unions that would have been in favor, and vice versa. So it would be really interesting. I'm in favor of a fair playing field and an open market for this type of stuff. And, maybe it will end up better for all. We tend to say competition in the market is good. And I think it would be applicable in this case too. So.
Yeah. I heard from one person, and I wanted to verify this, but I had a hard time. I don't know if there's a way to verify it, that they're one of the top 3 lobbyists in the state of Utah.
Oh.
And that's from.
Is that money wise, or
money-wise.
just like, oh, we can look that up? Yeah.
Can we? Yeah, I'd love to find that out and see if that's true, because that's pretty crazy, especially when a lot of the money does come from the NEA, which is the national union, right?
Yeah.
And to see how much of that's funneling in from out of state. So.
Yeah. If they stuck to education, then maybe we wouldn't
Right?
so much.
What happened to math and reading? My last one, and this is the HB 149, single family home ownership. And wait, did I get that one wrong? Yeah, no, that's the right one. And that's the one that basically corporations cannot purchase single family homes for themselves, right? I completely agree.
I agree.
I think it's time that we get the corporate. I'd love to have a rental for me and my wife to make some money. That's different. I'm not a corporation that's buying them up in the hundreds and the and then I just think that's the wrong thing.
And I think maybe like limiting them to like one, right? Because there are some corporations that they'll buy a single family home, and as their executive team, or as they're going through, they put them in there, right, to live while they're at their whatever. Right?
It makes sense. Maybe not one, maybe five. I don't know, but not these mass amounts. And then nobody else can purchase them and own, and then
absolutely,
and that's causing the cost of housing to go up too.
Well, and we heard maybe a year or two ago that this was happening around the country. I heard Florida had a lot of this. So I had someone send me Utah County, and it scrolled for quite a bit with the same name, large purchases, and I added it up, and you were talking like hundreds of millions in just same name, and then I just thought, okay, hold on, this is actually where we're going to have a problem. And so speaking of monopolies,
who's never gonna be able to own property. So anyway, that's mine. I'm yes on all of those because you took away all my no's, but that's okay.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's good. This is good discussion, and I appreciate it.
I had one more that I had forgot that has taken up quite a bit of my time. House Bill 122. Buxton, he has been great to work with. We're still working with him. But it is National Guard amendments, but there was just so many things in there that a lot of people reached out to me and asked, why are there so many things in this bill? And so we're working on that. It also has the Great Salt Lake Sentinel lands in it, which was a little bit concerning. That's a new bill that has passed, and that's a conservation. And so anytime you mention like Great Salt Lake, and it also includes Utah Lake, people kind of sit up and pay attention. So that one's on my radar too, and to be continued.
Oh, nice. Yeah, absolutely. I know we're running out of time here. Just honorable mention, one bill that I was also tracking as well is HB 230 by Rep. Tusher. And this is blockchain and digital innovation amendments. I don't know what you guys feel about blockchain and digital currency, but this one in particular proposes it's a bill that creates the authority for the state treasurer to invest public funds in certain digital assets. And I know right off the bat, I think a lot of people might like clutch their pearls or something like that. But I am. This is one of that I'm sort of a thumbs up on, just because especially with President Trump's agenda.
Right.
He's looking at making the United States the capital of digital currency and that whole technology, and I think this is something that obviously we don't have to jump head first into this one, but I think reading the bill, that a lot of definitions and exemptions, like we're not taking pension funds or anything like that. It's limiting where the money will come from, and it's limiting the amount as well. Really good bill to read through, but I think it'll behoove the state to really get ahead of digital currency and doing some research and investing in some form of capacity. This is a plus for me, and hopefully, obviously, it does have a lot of good guardrails for the state to do this, and checks and balances. So that's just one to watch, and hopefully we see how this plays out in the Senate.
I haven't read that one. I wasn't aware that it was in here, but my hope is that it refers to decentralized digital currency. centralized cannot.
There was the bill last year that passed, and
Right.
so Utah.
So by default,
yeah.
this is going to be okay. I assume that, and especially coming from Tusher, because I know he understands this very well. I would assume that. But yeah, I'm a big fan of digital currency. I invested heavily recently, and because I'm watching what's going on, and I'll tell you what, you better get on
something.
Better learn about it. Yeah, you better learn about it. You better start investing, because if we don't, I fear that foreign countries are going to get ahead of us, and we're going to be in trouble because they're going to control it. And if they control it, they're not going to do the decentralized, and we're all going to be in a bad hurt really quick.
Oh, could you imagine?
It'd be
like
really
that
bad.
would be
Decentralized. We got to do it decentralized though.
100%.
Yep.
And what a world we live in. I am always a fan of Utah has a bill. I can't remember the name right off or where the code is, that businesses have to take cash. And I always think we need to tether ourselves to that kind of
Yes.
stuff. Because a lot of this is new. We don't know, and I think most of us possess some sort of digital currency. But I am a big fan of two things always: the ability to pay with paper currency and the ability to show paper identification.
Yep.
So some sort of physical form of both of those, as the technology
Glad you added that.
comes about.
You're right. I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to an end. We are thankful for you all, for the viewers. Thankful for you guys as well for your contributions. And with that, thank you so much for joining the County Pulse podcast. And we'll catch you next week. Have a good one.
Thank you.
All right.